Polypoetes is a genus of moths of the Notodontidae family. It consists of the following species: Polypoetes aborta, Dognin, 1913. Polypoetes albicuneata, Dognin, 1910. Polypoetes albiscripta, Dognin, 1903. Polypoetes aniplata, Warren, 1906. Polypoetes approximans, Warren, 1901. Polypoetes aterrima, Dognin, 1913. Polypoetes augustimacula, Dognin, 1902. Polypoetes bifenestra, Miller, 2008. Polypoetes bistellata, Dognin, 1902. Polypoetes circumfumata, Warren, 1901. Polypoetes colana, Druce, 1893. Polypoetes copiosa, Miller, 2008. Polypoetes corneola, Miller, 2008. Polypoetes crenulata, Miller, 2008. Polypoetes cuatropuntada, Dognin, 1893. Polypoetes deldon, Druce, 1885. Polypoetes disconnexa, Dognin, 1911. Polypoetes dynastes, Herring, 1925. Polypoetes empheres, Prout, 1918. Polypoetes eriphus, Druce, 1885. Polypoetes etearchus, Druce, 1885. Polypoetes exclamationis, Herring, 1925. Polypoetes exclusa, Herring, 1925. Polypoetes examere, Warren, 1909. Polypoetes fenestrata, Herring, 1925. Polypoetes fulvicata, Miller, 2008. Polypoetes fuliginosa, Dognin, 1904. Polypoetes haruspex, Druce, 1885. Polypoetes ineldo, Schaus, 1933. Polypoetes integra, Herring, 1925. Polypoetes interceta, Herring, 1925. Polypoetes gipiro, Dognin, 1893. Polypoetes leuschneri, Miller, 2008. Polypoetes lutivina, Walker, 1864. Polypoetes mara, Herring, 1925. Polypoetes marginifidia, 1913. Polypoetes nigribasalis, Herring, 1925. Polypoetes nox, Druce, 1909. Polypoetes nubilosa, Warren, 1900. Polypoetes obtusa, Walker, 1856. Polypoetes opaca, Herring, 1925. Polypoetes oteroi, Miller, 2008. Polypoetes palinivus, Felder, 1874. Polypoetes pellucida, Dognin, 1910. Polypoetes persimilis, Dognin, 1913. Polypoetes picaria, Warren, 1904. Polypoetes prodromus, Herring, 1925. Polypoetes rubribaceus, Herring, 1925. Polypoetes ruffipuncta, Schaus, 1894. Polypoetes selenia C. and R. Felder, 1874. Polypoetes semicoerulia, Dognin, 1910. Polypoetes subcandidata, Dognin, 1910. Polypoetes sublucens, Dognin, 1909. Polypoetes suffumosa, Dognin, 1902. Polypoetes sumeco, Miller, 2008. Polypoetes tenebrosa, Warren, 1907. Polypoetes tinelandia, Miller, 2008. Polypoetes trimacula, Warren, 1904. Polypoetes tulipa, Miller, 2008. Polypoetes vidua, Warren, 1909. Polypoetes vilia, Druce, 1897. Polypoetes viliodes, Prout, 1918. Polypoetes viliopsis, Herring, 1925. Polypoetes wagneri, Miller, 2008.